Hey, welcome back to the Liquid Bliss podcast. I'm Steven Zakash here with Dominic Flores and our special guest today.
It's Dibi Fletcher Day.
Dibi
Fletcher. Don't call her DB.
Yeah, don't
call her Debbie. Her name is Dibi.
We get into a profound conversation
with the Dibi Fletcher about
that name, how it started. That's where we really
is the wife of legendary surfer Herbie Fletcher. I grew up, and Herbie Fletcher is godlike in the surf community. They have two kids, Christian and Nathan, who invented like the aerial on the waves. You know, like when surfers started launching themselves out of the water and doing air, that was basically Christian Fletcher.
So her grandson's on the cover of
that's her son's, and then her grandson she manages, and that's Grayson Fletcher, who's on the cover of Thrasher magazine this month, last month, next month. I'm sure the timing is there for Grayson Fletcher's cover. So she talks a lot about the industry, the surf skate industry. She talks about legacy mostly is what we love about it. Names, childhood. I want to say, first of all, I want to say Dibi's our friend now because Gail Gladstone introduced us to her. Thank you, Gail, from Waterside Productions, because we talked for a while, and she just, it's like she's the kind of person you really want to be your friend. And I'm thinking I can say we're friends now. You know, I feel like so happy when I say her name.
What I love about her is I don't want to go through life boring.
Oh my God.
Right? And I see parts of my wife in her and just the general, I don't want to go through life in a boring way. And she's all about that. And so
she has so much energy.
Yeah, and I love it so much.
Fun energy.
Yeah, I love it so much.
Just balls energy. She's so like, don't fuck with her. Oh my God. And I looked at her Instagram. She's got like over 400,000
rightly so.
subscribers because she's got, I know why. And she just does whatever the fuck she wants. No, I just didn't realize that I was so, I don't know, like close to someone who like, I don't know, it's just really interviewing her feels like it was like an injection into Liquid Bliss that was like very much needed. You know, like not like every guest hasn't been amazing, but like, oh, did I even think I could not have Dibi on? Like she was such a like gift of what you don't even know what you needed. What's that expression? You don't know what you don't know. Like it was just
no. Everyone needs more of that in their life.
Of that energy in their life.
I love it so much.
So
let's get it.
So we just let her talk and do her thing.
Yeah, let's get on with the
ladies and gentlemen.
She's
Dibi
awesome.
Fletcher.
Let's get to it.
Liquid Bliss Worldwide.
Water would be nice, thank you.
Do you have a problem with a plastic bottle of water?
No, I don't care.
Okay.
Right
Dude,
here.
I can't make all these rules. I can't live with them. I can't deal with them. I can't give a shit. Pretty soon you can't do anything.
Yeah, no, people need to have grace for everyone.
You're thinking about everything, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. I like being a kid where you just got loaded and did what you wanted. To be honest with you, that was fun.
Ooh, that's where we want. Let's save the AHAI one and get back to it. That's where I wanted to start.
Where should being a kid and you could.
We're here with
We're just gonna go into
Dibi Fletcher.
We'll do the
Dibi. Like
Dibi.
I have dibs on something.
Sorry, Dibi.
That's okay.
Yeah, let's just.
That's the first time I haven't said Dibi.
Oh, it's okay.
I'll call that nervousness.
It's okay.
But it's short for Debbie.
No, it's short.
It's really not. I'm going wrong twice now.
No, it's short for
I'm already
Deborah.
wrong twice now.
It's short for Deborah.
DEBRA.
Wait, you were never Debbie?
Yes, but my mother she had a good friend named Dibi. And so she named me after her, but she thought, oh, maybe when you grow up, you'd want to be Deborah. Well, I haven't grown up yet, so I haven't become Deborah, so it's all good.
And you were never Debbie.
No,
and you were never DB Cooper.
No.
Wasn't that a movie?
And I hated the name Debbie.
That's fair.
Yeah. My dad used to call me that.
Oh, well, but that's beautiful then.
No, he called me that so he wouldn't give me my own identity.
Ooh, let's start there then. What are you talking about?
If you don't,
your dad, who you love,
yes, but it's just
called you
families.
Debbie.
Families are family. But he did that because my dad needed to be king.
Oh my God!
You know,
so good
and so
already.
he had all the kids work for him and everything, and they all had to kiss the ring. That's why I left home early.
At 16, you left and met Herbie Fletcher.
No, I met Herbie when I was 14.
When she was 14, and
it was 2 years before you left.
She left when she was 16.
And I ran away from home at 16. And you know what? I look back on it and you think, when I'm standing in the line at the grocery store and think, God, I ran away from home so I could be here, right? But the point was I ran away so I could have my own identity. And I think had I stayed longer, it was so overwhelming to have to fit into this kind of mold.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I didn't, because it's allowed me to be all sorts of things.
I think that's a big problem for people, is that you just get programmed into something, right?
Well, yes, and then there's responsibility and you owe it and blah, blah, blah. So maybe I was selfish by doing this, but it was really tough. Herbie and I really had nothing, and we really had to really grind to do it. But it was so interesting.
But before we jump into Herbie, sticking with that one, as a little one, then, like, what about 5, 6, 7-year-old you? Like, what was like, what's your earliest memories? Like, were you a cosmic kid? Were you like always aware of being put into
I'm one of 3 children
Okay.
of my mother from my mother's first marriage.
Okay.
So I never knew my real dad.
Ooh. Okay.
And he was very, from what I understand, because I've
She
found
close enough to the mic?
I found a bit about him.
Okay.
I found a bit about him, right? He was
Right.
very charismatic, but he was an alcoholic.
Birth father.
Knucklehead.
Right.
He was absolutely over the top. Inherited all sorts of money, had one car for every day of the week. He only put the down payment on. Who knew you had to make payments?
So that much money. But then he didn't make the payments.
He bought the second largest sailboat ever made at that time.
Okay.
And so he decided that he was going to, he'd do these business things that were, when you look at him, you go, how could you have thought that was a good idea? During that time, he was going to go get pregnancy testing frogs in South America on this 132-foot sailboat, right? Him and the crew got so drunk that they ran aground in Ensenada. They left the boat there, right? And so, I mean, he did.
Where were they trying to get to? Where were the frogs?
South America.
Somewhere in South America. They didn't make it past Mexico.
No, I mean, you just go, what were you even thinking?
We won't even talk about the pregnant,
But what were you
the
even
frogs.
thinking,
We're going to keep going.
right? But so anyway, so he was this crazy kind of wacky guy, right? And so my mother finally got the nerve to leave him, right? And so she had 3 young children. And so when she met my father, Walter, I was the one that met him first. I was 4 years old. He walked up. I opened the door, and there's this great big guy with a Makaha Surf Club sweatshirt, bare feet, a ukulele. I looked at him and thought, man, now that's a guy, right? So anyway, after a couple of years, my mom married him. And so he adopted the 3 kids. So we were legally his.
Yeah.
But that made it kind of a different scenario, I think, right? But he was a big wave rider. And his father had a woolen business that when he came back from the service.
A what business?
Woolens.
Oh, woolen. Okay.
Men's suits.
Yeah, no, I was thinking surfing.
He was a garmento. He was a garmento, and he had woolens.
Perfection.
So when my father came back from being stationed in Hawaii, he looked at it and said, how do I get a customer that's at the beach? So they started the Aloha prints.
Are you kidding? That's how it all started?
Yeah.
The Aloha prints that everyone in the world wore?
I mean, there was
And
a
movie
few,
stars
but there
wore.
was a few other people that wore them. You know, like when you saw Frank Sinatra and From Here
That's
to
what I'm saying,
Eternity.
Frank's-
you know, right? But my dad came back and he changed his father's business from a woolens men's suit. People weren't
That's quite
wearing
a
it was
change.
leisure wear then. See, what happened
leisure
was
wear.
after the Second World War, and there was the aerospace industry in California, and that was closed down. They looked at all those factories and said, what the heck? They started using the materials from aerospace. When they put the materials from aerospace into the surfboard went from 100 pounds to 40 pounds. So it opened the world of
that changed
surfing
everything.
to the entire globe.
Right.
They invented the sliding glass door. You never think about how innovative the sliding glass door
Opened
was,
up the outdoors
but
with
it opened up to outdoor living with your Aloha shirt and your barbecue. And it was the first time they had ever made suburbs. They started making suburbs in California with all this money that had come in with the GI bills. There was many European teachers from the First World War here. So the art was just going crazy. Eames started doing the chairs, the molded chairs.
Oh, yeah.
Everything, it was mid-century modern.
It's fantastic.
There was money. People, it was the first time
Craftsmanship.
there had been the First World War, the Second World War, and the Korean War. It's the first time the world had been at peace. And it was jubilant. And so everything was faster, sleeker. It had very much of a Bauhaus feel to the design. It got sleek. People in California didn't want to be old European, much like the East Coast. They wanted to be modern. And California was really happening. And that's where my dad, his friends, they started the surf magazines. They started the surf movies. These were all the people that used to come down to my dad's house on the weekend. So I knew them all. So the guy next door to us, he was recuperating from back surgery and he moved in with a next door neighbor. He invented the foam blank, Gordon Clark. So everything that became the surf industry happened right at my dad's house. So I knew all these players that really changed modern California. So when you talk about the history of California, this is all part of it. They made the dune buggies. They made the jacuzzi. It was all molded fiberglass that came from aerospace. And so these guys, it was the first generation of men that most of them didn't go into the business that their father was in.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to go to the beach. And so they tried to figure out how to do things that would allow them to have this lifestyle at the beach with their families.
Was it fun? Would you say fun was one of the words that...
It was a blast.
Okay.
It was so much fun. The men were very entrepreneurial. Things like this hadn't been done. They created magazines, movies. Bruce Brown was one of my dad's best friends.
Yeah, and he would do all the movies I'd see in elementary school, right? When they rent out the school for a theater and we'd watch the new Bruce.
And so anyway, so these people were all the people that surrounded my childhood. They were making the surfboards. They were doing all these things that had never really been done before. So when I looked at this, I didn't think it was different. It felt familiar. It felt familiar. So when I met Herbie was very much like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at him as some weirdo guy. I thought, he's just like my dad's friends. So when Herbie met me and came to pick me up at my dad's house, he goes, God, it was so weird. Phil Edwards was there. And, you know, all these people that I grew up thinking were so cool, right? And so that kind of made the relationship easy. It had a sense of familiarity. You know, my dad wasn't thrilled. Herbie didn't have a job, had no education. You know, it wasn't great. But anyway, we went on. And like I said, we were very much entrepreneurial, just like in kind of the mold of my dad's friends.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think...
Where did you run away to? What was the plan?
Okay. We had to have a plan.
I mean,
no, we didn't have a plan. No, we didn't have. No, we didn't have no plan.
Yeah, first off, no plan.
No, you're stupid. Okay, you're really freaking stupid, right? I look at it now and just go, oh my God.
Yeah, my daughter's 15 and a half, and I'm like,
Thank you.
Okay, bye, daughter, forever.
Yes. So figure out that's where I was at, as dumb as your daughter, right? But anyway, and so we didn't really have a plan, but we moved to Laguna Canyon with the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, right? We knew all of those guys, right? And so that was happening. Then the cops started busting everybody, so we said, oh God.
Wait, was Brotherhood of Eternal Love a motorcycle gang or a cult?
No, that was the people that were dealing all the acid.
Oh, all the acid people.
Yeah,
this is perfectly going to be 60s.
Those people, yeah. We knew them all.
Which probably is why the architecture, that's a different time.
And see, Herbie taught them all how to surf. So they loved Herbie because Herbie was like the surf dude, right? And most of them were from inland. Like, you know.
Okay, sure.
Most of them had been thieves, muggers, all these things that became enlightened. You know, it was a time. You had to kind of be there. But anyway, and so we stayed there for a little while, and then it was very strange and said, it's time for us to go to the beach. So we went to Hawaii. And then my dad came looking for me, so we went from Oahu to Maui, you know.
What a good dad.
Well, here's the thing. To be very honest with you, they'll never admit it, but I think that they were kind of stoked that I was gone because it was a lot less drama for them.
Okay, back up. Why would that? What kind of drama were you?
Because I was. See, they wanted to be in control. Do you understand? And the other kids said, "Oh, okay."
And you never did.
No.
That's the defining. That's what we're going to hear for the next one.
And I don't know why. I mean, what was it that made me want to just do my own dance to my own tune? What was that? Do you understand? I mean, I was a trained ballet dancer and all this stuff, you know. So that was very regimented, you know. But
you loved it, and ballroom dancing too.
Oh yeah.
And you don't know really why you were that way.
But see, when I think about it, I wanted to be what I want to be.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to take the hard knocks and to do the work and everything else, you know? Just like when I started going running, I'd run 25 miles a day.
Right.
You know? I mean, I'm serious.
Just a marathon.
When I started being a stone sculptor, I'd say, okay, an 8,000-pound rock, I'm going to do that. And I do it, I think I was never competitive with other people. I'm competitive with myself.
Okay.
My sister, who was the world surfing champion,
Right.
women's champion for years, right? I think 4 times or something like that. I no more wanted to go do a competition with somebody else, but I was very competitive with myself. And so that was the running or the sculpting or, okay, I'm gonna write a play. Okay, do it. I sat down and did it. Oh, I'm gonna write a book. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And so I put these goals out there, and it wasn't about comparing myself to someone else. And my parents, my dad and mom, they wanted me to have a nice life, I think, and be married to kind of like a lawyer or a doctor. And so me and Herbie laugh now and go, oh, that never would have fit.
Okay, you
I was
go.
going to say, for people today, we're on social media and the kids are on social media and they're constantly comparing themselves to other people. What advice would you have for them besides just stop? But
okay, I'm on social media. I did it as a kind of a competition with my grandson because I said, "Oh, you really need to do this. There's no magazine." He goes, "God, that's so lame. It's so weak."
I know.
I just went, "Oh, okay." But so here's the thing that I think most kids are missing. It isn't a competition. It was supposed to be social. So I use it as a variety show. They use it to promote themselves, if you will.
You use it as a variety
I
show.
do because I'm
because
interested.
it's supposed to be social.
Because
exactly.
I'm interested in everything. And so I've looked at the analytics of who follows me. I have 75% guys follow me from the ages of 24 to 54.
Okay.
So I do anything I want. Most of these guys, they follow me because I was surf or skate. So I do ballroom dancing. I do all these wacky things. Am I doing them a service? Of course. I'm showing them that there's something else out there that's interesting.
Yeah.
If you're at the top of the game in whatever it is, you're fantastic. And so I think most people are so limited. Oh, I can only like skateboarding. I can only like this. Oh, that guy, he rollerblades. How lame, right? I show these guys rollerblading that are just so rad. So I think it helps these people that follow me to broaden their point of view that everything is kind of cool if you're great at it.
But it sounds like you're very forgiving of the other way people are using social media, which is to compare themselves to others. Not forgiving, but like you kind of get it, right? Like
I do
like
get it,
you forgive people for doing
but
that.
I feel sad about that.
Right.
I feel sad that they want to compare themselves with just like I said. I don't want to compete with somebody else. I want to compete with me.
So was that a common?
That's the difference.
Was that a common feeling then? Your entire childhood, growing up, is the realization that like, look at how everyone else really cares about what other people are thinking, meaning they can't break out of their parents' shell. They can't. Where you were somehow you had something in you from the youngest of age that
when I went to school here, when my mom got married to Walter, right, and he adopted us and stuff, we lived on Balboa Island, which was, and I went to school in Corona del Mar.
Yeah.
And so we left there and we came here. Okay, we moved to Capistrano Beach. And I went to school with the kids that their families picked the strawberries.
Sure. Right? Because this is what's happening in
And they called me Dibi Dumbbell. And my mother would make me wear these darling little dresses. And I'm just going, wow, that's so gnarly. These kids were just so different. And I'm thinking my mother is so unaware. I wore them. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, right? But it tended to make me very isolated. So I lived very isolated from the kids around me. And my parents wouldn't take me. I lived at the end of Beach Road, which is like a 2 3/4 mile road. And I had a girlfriend in Dana Point. My mom said, well, if you want to see her, you can walk there. So I'd walk to the, the end of the harbor and back.
But it's like, what, 7, 8, 9 miles, something like that? Yeah, I would say.
By myself.
Yeah.
So I spent most of my childhood really very young.
And so what age are you walking, like 8, 9 miles?
Yeah, we like at 10?
10.
10, okay.
And you're in your head. You're in your head.
Yeah. Or then I had a friend that lived at Riviera. My mom said, you want to see her? Pfft, walk there. I'm not taking you. So I said, okay, I'll walk there. And so I think that I spent a lot of time alone and moving here. I moved out of that comfort zone of Corona del Mar.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Right. And so I was very different here. A lot of these kids knew each other. Their families knew each other and I didn't. So maybe it was because I was very isolated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That pretty soon you don't care. So what? They call you Dibi Dumbbell? Who cares? I mean, what's that to me? What's that to me? Is that how do I allow them to make me make me see myself through their eyes? Or do I just
I'm raising 4 kids right now and it comes up all the time.
Right. I didn't care.
Yeah. Or if you did, you figured out pretty quickly.
It's so hard to teach them not to care.
Yeah, well, you can't. It's very difficult because it's how we're raised. You understand? Yeah. And you do really feed up other people's opinions of yourself. You kind of can't help it, right? But you get to, like at my age, what do I care? Just like I was telling somebody the other day, I've got this friend that she's in her 40s. And I said, yeah, I was much tougher on myself when I was in my 40s. I said, now I can't give a shit. You go.
That's the lesson you really have to learn at some point.
I don't have time.
It's very hard to learn.
Just like my grandson, he's living with me right now. Grayson, my grandson Grayson, yes. And
brag about him for
brag about him for 2 seconds.
Brag about him.
Or 5 seconds.
He and I get along really well. It's really kind of interesting. It's a very comfortable relationship. It hasn't always been. It took him to grow up to get to that point because he had his own demons, right? And God, I was his grandmother. I'm going to be his agent. Oh, you have no idea how embarrassing that is. I said, oh, shit, take the money. Just go for it, right?
Yeah, why is that embarrassing? Is it a little bit? No way.
It was for him. Well, wouldn't it be for your children if your grandmother was their agent?
No.
Of course.
No,
I think so.
But not if she's you.
But see, it doesn't matter. It's still grandma.
It's interesting because I worked 20 years in Hollywood and had a successful career, and my son does it now. But it's more like he kind of is very happy. Like, okay, Dad's taking care of it, man.
Right.
You got the agent. I'll prep you for the auditions.
Right.
Here's what's happening in the room.
But see, some kids are different.
But I'm saying how to do this, and that honestly, I think that would trump being grandma. Like she knows what the fuck she's doing.
Yeah, but I don't. But not for him. I think it was. hard.
I respect that.
I think it was hard being a guy, and his friends would say something. I said, "What do they know?"
His friends would say something.
I said, what have they done? So, but see, there you go. Your peer pressure. You know, so it happens to everybody. Even though here he was kind of at the top of his game. You know what I mean? He was still being influenced by what other people thought.
Yeah.
Because we're going back to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
see, both Christian and Nathan, people would tell him, oh, you're only there because your dad. And so I think that's
fuel, right? Because they innovated surfing at every level.
Yeah, but see, so if we go back to that, this is how that's kind of the human condition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword.
You got me in my head now. Yeah, I'm listening.
It's a double-edged sword, as good as it can be. You always have the flip side of everything.
Yep.
And so it depends upon which side you listen to.
Okay.
Because it's the same with everything. There's always yin and yang.
Right.
And so it depends upon what you start to train yourself to focus on.
How long have you been doing that? Like that's a deep practice, right? I mean,
I
know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, but it goes in and out. Some days, the other side grabs you and you know what I mean, right?
Ideally for less and less time.
Of course,
right?
because that's why we're here. We're here to have a physical experience.
Sure.
I don't care how much you meditate or how much you can get out of your head. Honey, you always come back to your body.
Yeah, but I do want a good solid hour and a half before I do that. I want to get my best shot.
But I'm just saying, so that's why we're here, to learn these things, to learn this physical life. Do you understand? The 7 deadly sins that we experience over and over and over again at different degrees. And we never recognize it as the same old bag of shit because it comes dressed different. So you go, oh, this is so new and different. And then after you...
But you came here as a savage girl this time. I felt like well-equipped, warrior level. You knew what you were up to.
I think so. I think in a way. I think so. Just like it's kind of interesting, like I ran the surf company for a long time, and I'm probably one of the only women that ran a surf company and had a big surf team.
Right.
And so like Nathan, he's the director of the Vans contest, and he goes, well, I was going to tell him the other day, you don't want my mom to call you.
You don't.
And so, but he used that as being funny because my reputation has gone out that people go, oh boy, she's really tough, right? And it's not that I am, but I think it's interesting because most people do not speak their truth or speak their mind.
No.
And so it kind of scares them when you do.
You have that punk rock aesthetic, so I know.
Yeah, why do I care?
Right. Well, even coming here, it was so fun listening to you go like, all right, where the fuck is the gate that I'm coming to?
I looked at it and I said, oh, you guys said there's a gate guard. I said, there is not a human here.
But if I have no charge to what you're saying and I just listen to what you're saying, there is nothing angry or mean or whatever words you were using a minute ago about it.
No.
it's just really who am I in my own self that I can just
so you can relax.
Relax. Because you are never trying. I don't think you're ever trying to piss people off.
No, you gotta relax and enjoy the ride. You know, that's the point. My husband goes, you are so much fun. People just don't realize that.
But a lot do.
Some do. Some like it a lot. And because I have some friends that they enjoy it. It's fun. Do you understand what? It's never hurtful or anything. I'm harder on myself than I am on anybody else for sure. You know, but I think people aren't used to. People don't like it if you speak your mind, especially if you're a woman. They kind of go, "Oh God, she's so bitchy. Oh, she's so gnarly." You go, whatever. Just like my dad not calling me by my name. So we got into it one day, you know, and he goes, well, what's in a name? I said, I don't know, Willie, what's in one? Because his name was Walter.
Sure.
Do you understand? And he kind of looks at me. He knew. He didn't want to. He liked to play kind of dumb so he wouldn't be held to a standard. Do you understand? But he didn't want to call me my name because then I was an equal. He didn't like equals. He wanted you to kiss the ring.
Oh, man.
And here's the thing that was very interesting. It wasn't conscious with him. He didn't know it was a conscious manipulation.
No, not a lot of people did back then.
And I did.
You did.
And so that's why he'd want to kind of keep me at a distance. Like I'd come in and go, oh, you think you have enough jewelry on? I said, well, you know what? I put on one more piece and it was just way too much. So yes, this is perfect. And he'd just go, because he thought he was going to grind me. Do you understand? And make you feel less than. Yeah. And so I thought that was very interesting. If you want to make someone feel less than, that means you actually do.
I'm so glad I'm going to say it's cosmic now that I made that. I said your name wrong in the beginning. This is like the core of something that's so cool.
Well, it was just interesting.
It was a control thing.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's very disconnecting, right?
Yeah.
It's
but to me it wasn't because I saw through it. He didn't.
I have one more question for you then from a standpoint. So my birth name is Steven. We're Steven and Steven. We were childhood friends. We reconnected like 6 years ago. I changed my name to Dominic when I was 27. I was dating this punk rock star and she said, you can change your name. I changed my name. I changed my name, but it obviously I'm fine with my name, Steven, and that's what mom calls me. But why did I change my name?
To look at yourself new and different. I've had a million hair colors. Do you know why?
It's the same thing.
Do you know why? Because you need to push yourself out of that.
And I am very Dominic.
But you need to push yourself out of looking at yourself a certain way. So let's say, okay. A couple of years ago, I shaved my head off and I bleached it ballroom blonde again. Somebody said, oh, you can't do that. You're too old. I said, watch me. And I did it because it forced me to look at myself new.
Yeah. My wife just went through, her hair is all different colors right now, but it was a few years ago and she was like, I'd like to dye my hair. I'm about to go for it. And she goes, no, they won't let me. I'm all,
they won't let
you.
See?
Yeah. And I'm like, just do it. And so she went for it. And, you know, now it's just like, whoosh.
Right. And see, my mom, I looked at her and my mother had the same outfit, the same hairdo. Everything was the same her entire life.
Yeah, my mom too.
And I thought, that's really interesting. So she got into a comfort zone. So she was having a real problem. My dad called me up one night. This is when she was in her 50s or something. And he goes, Deborah, you got to get down here. Your mother's shoes are off. That meant she was really in trouble, right? I think she slept with her shoes on. Anyway, but she was perfect. Anyway, but she was having some psychological problems. And, you know, she was kind of going through a midlife crisis. And I looked at her and said, well, Mom, you know, this is kind of cool. It's kind of like taking acid. You're floating downstream. You're getting to go through all the baggage.
You're not wrong, right?
You get to let go of what doesn't work anymore. And you come out at the end, that new person that you come out through the fight. And she looked at me and she goes, you know, Dibi, I may not know who I am. No, I may not like who I am, but I know who I am and I'm staying there because it's comfortable. So I realized at a crisis, she picked not to grow because she was more afraid of the unknown than she was of the shit she knew.
And that's fine, huh?
Oh,
I'm learning that in life. People don't, if they don't want to be helped, they don't want to be helped. And help, whatever I mean by that even.
No, but I told her, I said, oh, okay. I said, just remember it's a choice. She came to the crossroads.
She kind of encapsulated the liquid bliss part there, right? with just you're talking about the.
See me, I come to the crossroads and I just go, okay, jump.
That's change,
move,
change.
go, grow.
The unknown.
Love it.
You mentioned acid. What was your first trip like?
Did you even do it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, didn't you say
I heard her say it, but I didn't nail down where this was. For all I know, she'd be like, "Oh, I never touched it. I didn't need to."
I started taking psychedelics when I was 14.
Okay.
And see, that's when DMT was around. I like that because that was like the businessman's high. You know, you get really high, and then I could still go home and see my parents. I'd go home on acid, and I'd see their face melting. And go, oh man, I shouldn't have come home. Anyway, that was another reason I was leaving.
Right.
But I think I ended up taking it. First of all, you took it and you got high. Then you learned about what it could be as a sacrament. Mm-hmm. And so I was very lucky to have gotten turned on to the point that you fast for days, you go out in nature, you prepare yourself.
Yeah, that intention makes it very different.
You take a prayer book with you, you meditate, you really learn about going inside. And so you'd see other people going to concerts and taking it and freaking out. I had people jump out the windows naked and all that crazy stuff. Do you understand, right?
Yeah, it kind of broke my brain when I was 14, 15, 16. But then, I found out my father passed away when I was 21, but we were always supposed to go drink this juice down in South America. So through addiction and my whole life, I eventually found ayahuasca and the plant medicine ceremonies, and I've been studying it for 16 years, training, facilitating. My grandma is Incan and Quechuan, so I have Wachuma, which is San Pedro cactus, and I'm kind of my path to legalization will be probably be through that birthright. And so, because it's all coming back, right? We all know that's what's coming back, the psychedelic wave. But again, it's going to be that same bullshit. If you're still going to jump out of windows naked and all that stuff, if you're just like, you know what I mean? There still has to be the set and the setting and intention. It's a whole nother thing. People
don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
They want to take it to get high. Do you understand? And so that you're going to run into that, you know? And so, but that's what I said. I was very fortunate. See, on my path, I got really tuned in. And then I was on a health food thing. I mean, I really got into it for years, right? Of really living clean and doing everything, you know, that I thought was godlike. And, you run into yourself and say, well, honey, you are human. So don't forget that. Don't get too over yourself, right? Because you're here in that body for a reason. And so I think that I was really lucky that I ran into people that understood something about it. Because most of people, they took it and then that was in the 60s. Okay, then the Coke started coming in, right? That changed everything. Yeah. And a lot of these people that had been kind of turned on, they started doing it because when you're that turned on, remember how you get to that point where everything is the same?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's you realize it's all the same.
We're all one, yeah.
But all the same. But then your ego's telling you, oh, it's all the same. So these guys it changed everything. It brought in a whole different group of people. That's what happened.
The cocaine.
The cartel, all that stuff. Guns, that ugly stuff, it all changed.
My dad was from Bolivia, so there was a mythology when he was a kid growing up that, for the people, right, the indigenous people, it was like this coca was given by their god to give them strength.
Yes, I understand.
But for the oppressor, so in the 80s when coke was going around, my dad was like, he was in the United States going like, oh, it was true. For the oppressor, it would kill them.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, the 80s were just insane. And it was like our downfall. Like it really was a dark, dark substance.
But I'm just saying but everything can be. Anything to excess, do you understand, right? Just like psychedelics, if you take them and you're not together, it can be very serious.
Right.
It can change your output. It can change your life forever.
Yeah, it does.
And I think there's a lot of young men that they end up taking it and then that schizophrenia kicks in because I think it helps to trigger that if you already are prone.
It's an interesting thing because I was diagnosed, of course, because I had a huge spiritual revelation at 19 years old. Looking back, it's very shamanic, but at the same time, because my dad was alive, it was like he'd throw the spirit of the ancestors, hung out with me for 3 days, and I ended up going back to church and being a Jesus kid because that's what I was raised with. But in 28, when it happened again, it was like, oh, you're manic depressive, dude. And so then I went on a regimen of like treating that, but it kept spinning me out. So I knew when I went into the jungle in 2007 and took the ayahuasca, it was either going to break my brain once and for all, or I was going to figure it out. And I did, but I know what you're saying. So it's a very interesting thing, that delineation between a psychotic episode and a revelation from God. And I really still, I can explore that even now.
And I
don't know where to do with all that.
I think a lot of young, especially young men.
And at 19, it always seems to hit.
Well, that's when schizophrenia with the hormones and everything else. And so I've seen a couple kids really, go on a journey that they'll never come back from.
They'll never come back from.
No. But that is their journey. I mean, who am I to say that that's not the correct journey for them in this lifespan? Do you understand? Right? Because you go, well, they're experiencing it. So
it's their human experience still.
It's their human experience and their parents and everything else,
Wow. Wow.
Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about kind of your work and the word legacy that comes to mind. What do you view as far as the importance of legacy, or do you even care about that kind of thing?
I don't know in what way you really mean. Legacy, I mean, okay, well, I was telling...
You're telling me, yeah.
I was telling you yesterday how I felt. Okay, I had a company, Astrodeck. My husband invented the tail patch, right? And so I've had a lot of people come and say, oh, I want to buy it, blah, blah, blah. Right. You're getting older.
And a lot of people, that's when they just, and they sell out. And
yeah, but see, what they wanted the story. Anybody can make a tail pad.
Yeah.
We proved that it's not that hard. Do you understand? It's and so a lot of people have. But what they really wanted was they wanted the wave weighers. They wanted this great kind of untainted, historical kind of story. Do you understand? That was about a family and all this. And I had all the footage. I have thousands of hours of footage and everything. And so they were young and they said, oh, I'll come in and do this. It's going to be so great, And I'm thinking I'm looking at these guys going, you don't know anything. And they didn't. And they don't know what I know. I'm not saying they didn't know anything. They know whatever they know at their age. Do you understand?
Sure.
But I had been since the beginning of surf. I mean, I met Herbie on the beach in Makaha when my sister was in a contest and my dad was a judge there. And so, like I said, I knew all the people that started the entire surf industry, all my dad's friends and everything. And so Herbie and I had done so many things in surf, whether Herbie was the first one to ever do toe in. So we had all of these first. He invented the surf pad and everything. And so when these young guys would come and tell me, oh, I really want to buy Astrodeck and just keep it going, they really didn't. What they wanted to buy was that legacy, that authenticity.
Yeah, right.
That's why I was telling you when you said, is AI going to lead
AI going to lead us?
No, is it going to lead us forward? And I said, yes. No, it's going to be AH, authentically human. Just like with Grayson, when we were talking about him yesterday in the skate world, he's kind of pushing skate out of its kind of sleep that it's in right now after going to the Olympics and all of this. Do you understand? It just kind of floundered. It just kind of went because everything's owned by one guy, right? So Grayson is so rad. Like I said, he's a skateboarder. He's rad. He's got blood dripping off of him. He goes, if I'm not bleeding, I'm not pushing myself, right? I mean, he's just wild all over the place. But it's so fantastically awesome. When I was younger, I remembered, you remember the Clint Eastwood movies, A Fistful of Dollars?
And all, spaghetti Western.
He never had a name. Only once did they call him a name. So I said, you know what? I'm going to write a story called Looking for Joe. Joe's that kind of man, right? I think that's what people are looking for. Not something AI. Do you understand?
Well, you know what's interesting? I'm going to break in for a second. Is where I use my AI, because it's really about the prompting and how you do it, it's helping me become authentically human, believe it or not, with the way it can mirror back myself.
Well, then that's fine.
Fascinating.
Then you're using that as the tool that it was meant for.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a trip.
It's not. It's not leading you.
No.
But so what I was looking for when I said like looking for Joe.
Yeah, keep going.
It was like, remember the old Marlboro Man? All the commercials that this was just this guy. I think we're kind of desperately looking for that authentic person again. Do you understand? That kind of heroic figure that, yes, has flaws and everything else, but that's authentically human. I think we've missed that. I think that men got a lot, just like you were saying, kids, you know, they're all wrapped up. They can't go outside. Do you understand? When I was a kid, I spent all day, my mom would say, it's light. What are you doing?
So my family, I have 4 kids, and we're with mom right now, who's 88, remodeling the house in Dana Point. The house I grew up in, though, is my point. Moved to LA, came back. But my 11-year-old can't even walk down to the park in my neighborhood that I played at without a neighbor, like, giving him a hard time. Like, where's your parents? Just enough to where my 11-year-old is just like, I can't do this. And I'm not protective of his safety. I'm just like, oh no, we don't need any, like, I don't need any problematic kind of, I just don't know. I don't even know how to describe it now on air. It's this way that we deal. We just don't allow things to happen anymore.
Right. Karen can't mind her own business.
Yeah, it's that. And I don't need problems. You know what I mean? I don't need problems.
But Karen can't mind her own business. Haven't you found? And I'll tell you something. It's that woman that has really changed everything. She's changed how men are. It's really interesting. Really interesting.
I was pulled over in a neighborhood in Laguna Niguel, just looking at trying to catch up on some email or something I had to do real quick. Can I help you, sir? The woman, I'm like, I'm good. Like, it's just someone walking around making sure who's parking in this neighborhood right now. Right. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time to get in problems here. I'm just going to be here a minute doing my thing. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. She had no issue with me. But underneath it, I'm like, oh, so that's what's happening.
Yeah. And it's happening and it's widespread. But just like when you saw everybody here's what I looked at. When you saw everybody with a mask on, I mean, driving in their car by themselves.
That was me.
But there's a moment. Yourself? But there was a moment.
No, but I'm just saying.
There was a moment when you looked at. But there was a moment when you looked at it and said, "It is a huge lack of faith."
That's what you said.
It's a huge lack of faith. You know what? I've been in terrible car accidents. I've had so much stuff happen, and you know what? You got to go out and live your life. Go live it. Go live it with gusto. If something's going to happen, you're not going to hide from it. It's going to get you even if you're in the freaking closet, dude. So you might as well go out and give it your best shot.
And that's what you said was your kind of philosophy behind raising your children. Yeah. When everyone would say, like, man, aren't you worried when, like, you know, Nathan takes the biggest crash?
No, I said it's chicks and drugs.
Yeah, that's what you had said. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about chicks and drugs.
Yeah. That's where you make bad choices.
Not bad decisions.
No, right, a 60-foot wave. He's prepared to go do that.
That's right. He's prepped.
He's there. All systems are go. He's paying attention. It's that girl that says, "Oh, honey," that they're not prepared for. Trust me.
Yeah, or the drugs that get the better of us, and the tiger has the tail.
So when people would say that, I go, no, they're trained to do that stuff. You know, whether it's skateboarding or whatever, right? That's not what I'm scared of. You know, and I always have them send me the video. I know then they made it, right? And see, if I didn't like it, if it made me nervous and I didn't want to watch, I wouldn't. So I didn't want.
Obviously, you're human. You were getting nervous.
Yeah, but so I didn't want to put that on them. Why would I do that? Why would I let them wear that hair shirt? Do you understand, when they're dropping in a 60-foot wave? I don't want my hesitation to create hesitation for them. And so that was the most honest way I could deal with them doing these really radical things, right? Yeah. And sometimes I'll post something on Instagram or something of some guy doing some rad thing, and I'll say, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm not his mother," right?
Right. It's not like you don't understand that aspect.
I understand all of it.
I know.
But I could not keep them from fulfilling what they needed to do. Do you understand? So if it made me nervous, I didn't go. That was fair, I thought.
So you wouldn't go because you're a mom. You knew there's no way you're not going to be in mom mode.
Jerry Lopez.
I'm listening.
We used to own a house with him at Pipeline, right? And so he took Nathan and Christian, and Herbie was out on a jet ski, and it was closed out the entire North Shore. We're talking the surf was as far, you could go up on Pupucan, as far out in the water as you could see was whitewater. And Herbie was out on a stand-up jet ski. It must have been 40 foot, right? Closed out. And he's taken off on this wave. And Jerry and Christian and Nathan are just screaming, right? I said, "Oh, show me the video when it's over," right? Okay. Because it was really terrifying.
Yeah.
But why would I make Herbie wear my paranoia, which could mean it could mean life and death to him? If they hesitate when something's really, go for it. You can't. All consciousness has to be there.
Yeah. That's it, period.
All consciousness has to be focused.
Is that an addiction?
Sure. Don't you like that? Like Grayson goes, I can see why, like extreme athletes are drug addicts. I go, no kidding.
So he's got that's that. Right. That's what they're chasing.
Yes, but the reality is they're pitting themselves against nature,
Right.
which is awesome. And a lot of guys that don't do that, they're more girl crazy.
Sure.
Because they're looking for that thrill. Do you understand, right? Where if you're out in a 60-foot wave or you're out doing some really rad, physical thing, you don't tend to be as girl crazy because you go home and you're tired and you've satisfied that feeling. I think man is supposed to, I think that's part of being man. Don't you think going out of a cave and with a rock and searching for dinner must have been really an adrenaline rush?
Yeah, probably every time. I mean, that's good. That's the big thing in life.
I think that's part of the human nature.
Confronting those fears.
Yes, I think it's
wow, I did that. Right?
I think it's part of human nature. Yeah. And I think that living your life like that makes your life more fulfilling. Because when you're older, you can't.
Yeah, the limitations that
you can't
pop in sometimes.
You're not as strong physically.
Right. So
you're going to have to get that thrill doing something else. See, I watched Herbie go through middle age. See, it's much harder for men to age. Just so you know. Just a word of warning, guys, right?
Right.
And I'll tell you why. Women change constantly. They change their name when they're married.
That's fair.
So they go through, they
birth children.
All
and their
these
body
things.
Changes.
So women change constantly. So they're much more adapt to it. They don't think about it's just part of the deal, right? Okay. Where men, they kind of stay who they are. And they identify with what they do. That makes them, that's the coat of armor that they wear. Herbie was this great surfer, man, I'm out pipeline, blah, blah, blah. So what happens when he gets a bit older and he can't ride that jet ski in 50-foot waves? Or he's not that guy at pipeline? He was short-sighted and thought he didn't see it's going to come to an end. I'm going, we're going to have a little crash and burn here. But anyway, so I helped him transition that into becoming this artist, that he was using the same materials that he'd make using a surfboard or something, but he was creating a new vocabulary.
What did that look like when you were teaching him to be an artist? So it was a transition
I helped him discover what he already had.
But I'm saying, no, because you already knew he's transitioning out of one thing and has to express now a different way because that's what he does. He expresses.
Has to.
How did you help him?
I think just being there and saying, let's do this. We're going to do this, blah, blah. And I think that would, and I was supportive in that way. Do you understand? To kind of push him and say, that's so rad. God, that's so rad.
I was thinking a good relationship, it's really about a lot of it being each other's cheerleader.
Absolutely. Right? And see, I'm a really good critic because I'll tell him, I love that. Or I'll say, you want to make that? Go for it. If you enjoy it, I can't sell it.
But even that said in love, right? It's not to like tear him down, which can happen.
No, I don't mean it like that at all.
I know.
You can look at it and say, Herbie, that is fantastic. Make me 10 of them. I can move that. That's a body of work. And I create the story for it. So Herbie makes the stuff and I create the story. So it's this kind of great kind of...
I remember learning something about how, because women are smarter and they are who they are, everything you just described, basically, because women are that, and men don't change necessarily, that almost like the success or failure of a relationship is on the woman. And if like they can get their man to the top, he's supposed to just turn around and give it all back to her. That's the relationship.
I'll tell you this.
And it doesn't really work if they're walking out the door and you're like, hey, you loser, better make some money, this and that. It's more like, give them good bullshit.
I'll tell you this about the art thing.
You're the most gorgeous man. I'm going to do something nice to you when you get home.
The art, because I think that you'll find this kind of interesting.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we own the top floor at this house at Pipeline. It's become the most famous house on the North Shore, right? Anyway, so we own the top floor. And so Herbie's looking down, and after a big swell, there's all these broken boards laying on the lawn.
Right.
And he looks there and he goes, oh. And so he went and got an armature, and he made this sculpture.
All the boards on pipe,
but they were all broken at the Pipeline, all by the greatest pipeline.
By the warriors.
By the greatest pipeline surfers in the world.
Right.
So what Herbie did was he recreated wave wires for the 20th century.
Such a beautiful
thing. So I
looked
at him and said, dude, you just recreated the movies that you made in an entirely different medium.
Mm-hmm. So he instinctually just started doing that, this idea.
But but I saw the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So once I explained the story to him, then he was really happy because then it was so much more fulfilling.
Right.
And I said, so if you look at it and you made those Wave Warriors movies that became these iconic movies that told the story of rad surfing, right? And I said, and then you see how all the companies became all kind of this huge, ugly conglomerate. So all this rectangle is all these logos and it's all broken. So you go, oh, so from the Wave Warriors, you go to the broken dream. And I said, you've created the 20th century surfing experience. So we took it all the way to Gagosians, which is that.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yes.
I'm good at that. Yeah. I got to say, I got to pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
That's a good job because that's a pinnacle of art.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting because it really helped to finalize this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like huge for people. It's not like it's a little thing, but a huge thing. And it's like, it's right there in front of you, but people don't know. How do I make that story?
But because they're not looking for it really. They're trying to find something. And like when Herbie made it, he didn't see how it was a continuation of everything he had already done.
It changes everything.
But
it changes everything.
But it was just updated. I said the whole surf world is broken, and there you've created it.
And everyone gets it.
And I said, holy cow, Herbie, that's so fantastic. I love that. I can move that baby. You just watch. And so then he made a lot of other things to kind of go with it that were kind of like testaments to the greatness of the surfing experience itself. Surfing wasn't about
What about
selling.
that picture itself, the Wave Warriors picture?
Well, those became some of the most popular pictures of surfing because what he had done.
How'd that come about?
Herbie did that. He was great at it. Herbie was great at promotions.
He was.
Oh, he was fantastic. Fantastic. We never had any money, so you have to learn how to do something to make it happen, right?
Sure.
And so anyway, so that's how he started making the Wave Warriors movies. We didn't have money to pay anybody to ride the product. So Herbie would go, well, I'm making this movie, and so maybe if you're in this, you can get something from another sponsor. And so it was the only thing that everybody had all different sponsors. So it was the only time that all these riders were on one team. And that to me was something very important because that was really surf. It wasn't about the sponsor at all. They were just these rad surfers. And so then when Herbie started doing the rectangle, it was really interesting because all these surfers started saving their boards for Herbie because they wanted to be on a rectangle.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to be part of that Wave Warriors.
So that's core to who we are. That's since the caveman days too, right? We want that.
Well, see, don't you think it's like a petroglyph writing on the wall?
Okay.
Do you understand? It's just another form of communication. So you can make movies, which is a form of communication.
Yeah.
And I think many of Herbie's paintings, they look like petroglyphs, which I think is very interesting. He does these ones called the Bloodwater series, where he paddles up the Waimea River and soaks the canvas in the red oxide mud and then brings it back and has it dry a pipeline. And he paints these waves on them out of black. And so they look like a petroglyph. And the point of petroglyphs, when they used to do like the animals, they did them before the hunt and they were calling in the spirit to bring in the hunt, right? So when you see these waves, it's like calling in that wave, right?
Yeah.
And so I looked at that and said, oh, those are so interesting. Herbie's part American Indian. And I said, oh, there's your petroglyph. I said, oh, I love that. Good. I love that. I can do that.
Would you say all surfers, just by nature, are warriors? I grew up with them in high school, grew up here. I was not a surfer. I was, I guess,
No.
if they were warriors, then I
No.
was a shaman, right?
No.
I was always, okay.
No.
They're not.
No.
Even the good ones. Or the define good, right?
Well, like,
Successful.
okay, there was...
I don't know.
Well, just like the Hawaiian surfers, they never left Hawaii and stuff, but they were these surfers that were so unreal. They were a surfer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They weren't the sponsor. They weren't doing the ads and everything. But surfing, you got to understand what happened with surfing was the business of surfing was about selling stuff. And who checks at retail? So that little white blonde kid with the long hair, they checked at retail. That Hawaiian guy, not so much. So the companies pushed that guy to make the sale. See, and that's where most of these people don't understand. The industry of surfing was about selling stuff.
From the beginning, not from the beginning.
And so the surfers
The industry of surfing,
were
got it.
mistaken, thinking it was about surfing. I said, "Oh, you fool! Just like Ralph Lauren's polo, it's not about polo. It's about selling a shirt with a polo pony on it. You're just that polo pony."
Okay. Yeah, as an actor, it was not about my acting. I'm just there to sell whatever the director's vision
That's
is.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the same thing with the surfer.
But they get, it's fascinating.
And so now the companies are so bust that they can't afford. See, when Nike jumped in, it changed everything because they threw so much money in.
Was that 90s or later in the 2000s?
No, later. It was 2000s.
2000s.
They jumped in, then they flooded the place with money. Then everybody thought that they were going to make more money, and it was all great until it wasn't. The bottom dropped out. They took it to the Olympics, which was the kiss of death because it was no longer a lifestyle. When it was a lifestyle, they could sell it globally as this kind of an umbrella in your drink. And
So they lost the story.
Yeah. Yep. They lost the plot.
Lost the plot on that.
Yeah.
So,
and so
and
now
where are we now? Where are we now?
It's dead. It's dead. And so it's going to have to
But like a thief in the night, like a phoenix from the ashes, Dibi.
It will.
Okay.
It will.
Yeah.
And so just like I said with Grayson's bringing skateboarding back, but he's bringing it back authentically human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? And so just rad, complete rad. And so kids want to see that. They don't want to know about going to the Olympics. They want to see somebody just eat shit, get up and say, I'm doing it again. And see, I love that. I love that idea. You know, wipe out, get up and do it again.
I remember like Skateboarder magazine as a kid, you know, and you'd be in some wrecked pool and doing stuff, and everyone's just, you know, shirt off. And
Well, that's what it was, right? In the 70s and the 80s, just finding a pool that's empty.
Yes, but see that, and that's the thing. And so it went all the way to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And then it became Hannah Montana skateboarding, you know? I mean, they had this little girl and she was so fantastic. And so they kept selling, see, it was low hanging fruit. They kept trying to get the mother's credit card to sell back to school.
It worked.
It worked until it didn't,
Okay.
you know?
It was funny. I remember this kid, he wasn't a surfer, but it was fine. He had to move out of state. So he just bought a bunch of like surf clothes, whatever he could buy from around here. And like, so he was so cool, he said, when he went out of state, just because he had those clothes.
Well, my friend Bruce Weber, he did the line Hollister for Abercrombie.
It was more upscale. Yeah.
Well, no, this was kind of funny because see, Quicksilver and all these people. So they gave away so much stuff. If you could duck dive, you got free stuff, which was insane. I made everybody pay for pads and they said, you're the biggest bitch in the industry. I said,
so mean.
Thank
That is
God.
mean. Okay.
No, do you know what? If I'm so stupid.
But if it's free, it's me. Remember, that's the motto.
If I'm so stupid that I don't think what I'm doing is worth being paid for, shame on me. You know, if I lost the business because of business climate, but if I lost the business because I'm stupid and I had to go back and tell my dad that, whoa,
interesting.
Never going to happen, right? So what I did, because what happened was there were so many people in that sector that were giving away free stuff, thinking if I just give away enough free, I'm going to have this great team.
Okay.
I looked at it and said, okay, so they've made the pad of no value. If it's free, it's valueless. And I'm looking at it and going, these kids are off on the beach with chicks and butt floss, and I'm in the back of a warehouse. So let's see. I'm making them pay me to be in that back of that warehouse.
Okay.
So John, the greatest surfer in the world, he'd call up and go, okay, Dibi, I have my credit card. I said, oh, good boy. And so he'd go to the contest and he goes, you know, she makes me pay for pads. I had everyone call me and said, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard, right? So Makua Rothman, everybody, Auntie, I have my credit card. Can I get some pads? And so it really kind of changed things because I thought that the surf and skate industry was doing a terrible disservice to children to make them think that people are working and because you're going outside to go surfing, you deserve it for free. That's shameful.
That really is how I grew up in high school. That was really what it was all about. Huh?
But that's shameful.
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you with these ears that I've never heard before, not really ever recognizing that.
That's a bad thing to teach your children.
It's a very bad
that what
thing.
I'm doing as an adult is of no value, but they're going outside to play and I should give them what I do for free because they're going outside to play.
Huh.
Not going to happen, honey. I'm not doing that. So I was unlike everybody else, right? Because I looked at it and said, I'm really teaching kids something here. And so they all loved it. And so then they wouldn't trade their pads for tie sticks or anything else. Do you understand? Because they paid for it, right? And so
I also imagine you're super generous, though.
well, of course. Of course.
So what's that balance?
But why not be generous? But are you generous to a fault that you're giving them
It's
this
a value
false,
thing. It's
false
a value
impression?
thing.
Do you understand? I'm generous with my time. So then the surfers would come talk to me. I had lots of them that would come and sit in front of my desk and go, this is the best. I can talk to you about art and all these other things. This is fantastic.
You know, keep speaking on this because honestly, this podcast is a generational podcast. It's a big deal to me that we have every generation on here. So the younger generations, the Gen Zs, my kids and stuff, like say that again. Like it's
trying to get that conversation.
They really need to hear this, right? Like it's not like what is it about? It's not about free.
No, because then it has no value.
But it feels so good when it's free. I feel so special. I feel so like above my friend. Like look what I got and you didn't, and they gave it to me. Like that's what high school was. I remember for me, it was just
You don't value it as much.
I don't value it,
no,
and I've come
because
around.
you-
It actually was so toxic that it really ruined me going to
That's-
Hollywood.
but-
I'm not valuable then unless they hire me.
But that's what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
so the reality is you were giving them really bad things to grow up into. I felt as a parent, I owed them better than that. And I didn't care if they didn't like me. Oh, you don't want it for free? Here, let me give you my competition's phone number. I'm happy to do that for you.
yeah,
Go talk to them.
Yeah.
What do I care? See, I was in a different position. I didn't care. When the shops would say, oh, I'm not going to pay, I said, great, don't take the pads.
So when you say the surfing industry is dead, but you could resurrect, we talked about the authenticity part. So that's
I don't mean it's dead because there's more people
you
than
didn't
ever
say that.
surfing. There's more people than ever surfing.
What part of it's dead?
But
This is
there,
what we're talking
I
about.
think like the clothing companies and all of that. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because people don't want to wear surf gear, so to say. Do you understand? Right?
don't.
No, they don't. It's out of fashion. Do you understand?
Interesting, too.
You know, and so they'd have to come up with something new. It has to be, and because they took it to the Olympics, do you want to go wear tennis clothes?
right.
Do you understand? So I think that they kind of cut themselves, off from the audience that they had kind of created. They didn't grow with their audience.
Yeah.
Their audience was getting older. It's just like when you see those young pop stars and stuff. Do you understand? When their audience grows older, can they still stay relevant? Do you understand? Is that mother of 3 kids going to go listen to Taylor Swift or whatever?
Right.
Do you understand? So it's that same thing. You either have to change. Do you understand? Because your audience is going to mature. And that's the same with everything, right?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be like Mick Jagger? He's one in a billion, right? That can still go out there and sing Foxy Lady at 190,
Right. Do you think where we're at right now, 2024, 2025, do you think this is like different than the rest of what you've experienced? Like as far as how change is happening, how quickly it's happening? I am talking about things like AI or just human nature or just how we are. I mean, the world's crazy, the division and all of that.
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of it, and it happens faster.
And everything's happening faster.
I mean, it's like it's kind of speeded up. But that's why I said that idea of human authenticity. I think that is something, or authentically human, that, AH, authentically human. I think that's one reason we're searching for that. Do you understand? Because everything is faster. You're on your cell phone,
Right.
I mean, some kid was helping me get a new phone, and I asked him to help me do something. I said, dude, I grew up with a rotary phone. So just get with it and help me out. And he giggled, right? And said, oh, that's so
it's
funny.
the same energy though. Like you guys were always innovating.
Always.
Innovation is really all that's happening now, right? It's just constantly innovating.
Always.
So that you're not saying no to that.
No.
Authenticity
No,
with innovation.
Just like now, I look at where I'm at is more going to be storytelling. I've got a plan for 7 books.
Okay.
And one reason I'm starting this little advice column with Surfer Magazine.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay, it's called Hey Dibi. I used to do it years ago on Christian's Facebook, and it was quite successful at the time, right? And everybody wanted to ask me questions and everything. And advice is just advice.
Right.
It's not, all it is my advice. It's not something that you can take home and live with or whatever. Take it or leave it. Do you understand, right? I'm not telling you what to do. It's my advice from a life lived with decades with the volume up full blast. That's all, right? And so anyway, so I'm doing that. But would I have gotten that job if I didn't have a large social media following?
I don't know. Maybe you would have, but you're saying, I hear what you're saying.
I highly doubt it. But so I worked for a couple of years getting a social media following. And so like Christian would go, what are you doing? I said, I'm just doing this. I said, there's going to be value in it, right? You know, and I said, I'm just doing it, having fun, right? I got canceled once, right? And I said, okay, now I'm really going to do it because that really pissed me off. But anyway.
Okay.
So I came back and I just spent time doing it, you know. And so I've got this thing. And so what I want to do is I have this idea to do 7 books. Do you remember The Thin Man? With Nick and Nora?
Yeah.
I think Herb and Dib make a perfectly updated Nick and Nora. Do you understand, right? You do it surf style, right?
Right.
And so I know all these crazy stories and all this stuff. And I thought, oh, that sounds good. And I'm going to base them on the 7 deadly sins.
Nice.
And so then I think I'll package it, sell it to Netflix or whatever. So I've got a plan. And
do
it's
you
not
like
fun.
writing?
Yes, and I'm quite good at it.
I was just going to say,
No, I'm
because
quite good
again,
at-
me and my AI, we're good buddies. And the way you can now engage and co-create with these, with the AIs, it's
Because I haven't used it yet.
It's fantastic.
Okay, because I haven't used it yet, I'll be honest. But
I know. I feel like all I ever feel like is I'm kind of like I have a feeling I'm like the more you hear about it, right? The more it becomes into your field and becomes what you're about.
Oh yeah.
I have a feeling this is you're gonna fall in love with it.
Probably
Yeah.
because so what I'm doing right now is doing the characterizations because I've got these characters that reappear in the 7 of them. And I just thought, oh, I've got the perfect idea. I've lived this wild life, so I know some great stories, right? That are fantastic. And they're just, and life is about stories.
So then I'll add into that. I'll pepper into that too. So what's cool is as the AI keeps doing what it's doing, storytelling, authentic stories actually will be easier. We'll hear more stories. There's a lot of people who want to tell stories. It can't be done. But now I think this tool we'll start hearing more of each other's stories in a way.
I think it'll empower people that struggled with telling their story in some way. So they open up new people to be able to tell story versions.
How about that? New people telling stories
still,
now.
I mean, it depends on how you use it, like anything. So like she has all the stories. Right.
She
and
does.
That's the authentically human.
Right. That's the authentically
that's the
human.
value.
Right. And that's the value of it.
That doesn't change, but just for me, it's all the organization around it. It's all the I can spit out the idea and articulate it.
I kind of like what I'm doing right now because it's like it's a puzzle. And so I'm doing all the characters, right?
Yeah.
And I like that. I've got the time. I said, oh, I kind of like this.
Do you have practices, things you do daily? Like, do you have are you regimented?
Yes, terribly.
Interesting.
Terribly.
How dare you? You're supposed to be. Yeah.
Oh no. That's
really
how
are.
That's how you are creative.
Okay.
Do you understand? Because you make time for it.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I do this at this time, this at this time.
Systemizing it versus just random
this
every
at
now
this
and then.
time. Do you understand? Right. Otherwise, you're just talking shit about it
Right.
because you're not really putting in the time to do it.
For someone
I'm
young,
very scheduled.
for someone young, what advice regarding like your system? Like, what would you say for them to do?
What do you? What I'm not
Like
sure
your
about.
daily, you said you've got kind of a daily practice of stuff.
Yeah. What kind of stuff
What's
you think
like
they need?
What's like some of the best things
just
you
like
do?
every day, I used to get up and go running. Do you understand? Right,
Yeah.
and I'd run 20 miles a day.
To get that
right?
body in motion.
You
That's not
know,
changing.
and so I've always been very regimentated. My mom was beyond. I knew exactly what time of day it was by what she was doing. She ate the same thing at the exact same time. Do you understand? Right?
Yeah.
So my whole family was like that. I mean, insanely just
So where's the
anal.
balance? Because change is also your favorite word, and change.
Well, that's it, but it gives me the room for it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? How would I even know change was coming if I didn't have this schedule? Do you understand where all this stuff was happening? And then all of a sudden, boom, you're off schedule and you're going, whoa, this is interesting. Oh, I think I'll just dive in here. So I think
that's the part, being able to dive in when it changes. Until then.
Being flexible enough to allow it to come in. See, my mom wasn't.
Yeah.
See, she was so regimentated, just like I said, when it came for her to change, she couldn't. Her regimentation.
Well, I think that's what I get nervous about. Like that.
Her regimentation was her comfort zone.
Yeah.
See, I got, from being an alcoholic drug addict, then of course I spun into anorexia.
Sure.
Well, because it was out of control to in control.
Okay.
Same thing. I mean, I'm looking at myself and I've got a beard and I weigh 90 pounds. I'm going, oh, what the fuck now? Come on. You can't have something wrong. And so it made me laugh. And I said, oh, Dibi, you're so funny, right? And so I saw it for what it was. It was just the exact same thing flipped over.
Yeah.
out of control to full control. I mean, I'd run 25 miles and eat 7 raisins, and I counted them. And they had to be at a certain time, and you're just going, oh my goodness. And so I think that was part of it.
So how'd you find balance?
I think with growth, you know what I mean? And
was growth through like a shrink?
Never.
That's interesting.
Why would I listen to them?
I don't know. Knowing you, I could say, oh yeah, I had plenty of shrink time. Had plenty of this time.
No way. No way.
Good friends?
Pardon?
Good friends?
No, I read.
Okay.
I read my way out of it.
Okay. Always?
Always.
Okay. So you had all those great...
Most people that I knew that had a lot of problems said, well, I'm going to be an analyst. And I thought, of course you are, darling. Why wouldn't you be? Right? But so no, and I'm not saying it's not great for some people. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. No. I didn't hear any...
But for me, they haven't experienced enough stuff that they're talking to me from a book.
No, I feel you on that.
They haven't jumped off the cliff and done all this crazy ass stuff. And so why would I listen to them? They've read about it.
Yeah.
Is it much easier to embrace like the unknown when you have balance? Or is it, I feel like that's much easier for me, is to just be able to, okay, I'm just embracing the unknown because I feel more balanced. But if I'm kind of careening all over the place.
But see, when you're young, there isn't a lot of balance. We had no money, nothing, I mean, it was kind of, but I look back on it now and go, what a great experience that you were able to be so free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you had no of the creature stuff going on. Do you understand? And you were just going for it.
But but it's hard. If you're starving and you're trying to pay, getting out of that survival mode, because I think embracing the unknown means you're somehow feeling not in the survival mode, that you trust that maybe you can, because otherwise the unknown is too fucking terrifying.
No, but we embraced it. I have to say there was a difference.
And I do think it's key for humans in this human experience. The more we can rise out of these survival zones.
But also, you know what? I was blessed. Do you understand? My parents were together. Do you understand? There was a lot of things that made me more able to feel okay with things. Do you understand? Because I'm sure of something. We got a terrible accident. My mother did disown me, and my mother said, you made your bed, you lie in it. My dad said, oh, tough shit. And so we had nothing. Oh, wow. No car, no money, no nothing. And Herbie, his leg was broken in 100 places.
I find that unloving of your parents.
It was. They did it for their own survival.
Okay. That's fair.
I mean, I see, like Herbie would say, oh, I was so mad at them. And I go, why? They were just being them. They didn't know any better. See, I think that's where we get into a problem when we try to blame the parents. Do you understand what I mean?
Or blame anybody, really.
My parents didn't know any better.
Yeah.
They were where they were at emotionally themselves.
And
doing the best they could every day.
That kind of empathy when you're
caught
and so in the Herbie moment of it, but later you're like reflective on it.
But Herbie goes, well, I wouldn't even talk to him again. I said, well, then tough shit, don't. I said that's up to you. I said they did what they could so they could survive.
It's not easy.
I said I want to make choices, but then I want them to agree with them. I said, then I'm not being free at all because I'm making choices that they don't agree with, but then I expect them to agree with them. So do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do.
That would kind of be hypocritical of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the responsibilities between parents and kids and everything. Just like you make the best decisions you can for your kids.
Yeah.
And you know that. Do you understand?
And I change. I try to model change.
Sitting in their room going, God, what an asshole. Do you understand? Right? Yeah. And that's okay too. That's how they separate from you.
Although I will say this was funny. My daughter's like very honors oriented. What is it? I don't even know the words because of my high school experience. It's like, AP this and honors that. And she said it was because my wife and I were so like, oh, you don't have to go to college if you want to. We were very like, you can do what you want to do. And she was like, her form of rebellion was like, all right, well, fuck you. I'm going to be the best.
That's what I mean.
That was interesting.
And that's what I'm saying. Because as you know, when you have children, it's like learning to speak 4 different languages because each kid hears differently.
Yeah.
You can't say the same thing to each of your children and expect them to take it the same way. They don't hear the same. Their point of reference isn't the same. Their point of view isn't the same.
Right.
I mean, I had 2 kids, 2 boys, and I thought, piece of cake. I had one, the other one. They were so much different.
Sure.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
I mean, Christian, you'd tell him something and I'd say, well, Christian, I told you to do that. And he goes, no, you didn't. And I said, well, yes, I did. He goes, oh, you didn't say that. He would get you on semantics.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, you knew what I meant.
I got one of those.
He goes, but that's not what you said. So that really, so I had to thank him one day. I said, you probably helped me to be a really great writer.
There you go. Yeah, you have to figure out the right words here.
The exact way to say it.
That's great.
And so I thought, and so that was kind
What
of.
was Nathan? The opposite?
Oh, yeah. Completely opposite. Really heart-centered.
Heart-centered.
Just, you don't love me. No.
So good.
And so he was harder to deal with because with my personality, I tend to be more snappy. It's not that I'm being mean, but so it was very interesting.
Some more hugs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it was very interesting. And so, and then Herbie, he needs me to speak to him in a different way because he doesn't take things the same way.
Yeah.
So it's like you're Switzerland. Let me just get here in the middle and see how to navigate these different nations that I'm working with.
Who are your close ones? Your friends? I mean, do you tend to kind of be a lone wolf a little bit, or do you have ones?
Yeah. I talk to Gail, but she's busy with her own life, and I'm busy with mine. But we still.
She's a good one, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's really connecting me to some good people. Gail Gladstone.
She's fantastic.
Always props to her.
And so I talk to her.
Yeah.
But she's busy, and so I don't talk we don't talk all the time.
No. I was just curious if you cultivated like what kind of friendships, or if it's more of the clan of the family.
No, I mean, I think everybody's kind of does their own thing.
For sure.
And I like my alone time a lot. Then I did get myself these 2 rescue dogs.
Uh-oh.
Holy cow. I am telling you, who knew? They are so much work. And so I've only had them for 8 months or something. And
for our dog lovers, what kind of dogs?
Rottweilers.
What? Mm-hmm. That is fascinating.
So I have to take
the royalty dog.
So I have to take Gus out because he's not really super friendly. So I take him out at 5:15 in the morning, and we go run for an hour before anybody gets up, so he doesn't see anybody and have a situation. Then I put him in, and then I go take the girl out for half an hour, right? And then I start the day. Okay. Every day, 5 o'clock. I am up.
You're going hard.
Yeah.
You're going hard.
And then they...
Not just like a little tiny dog. No. These are like Rottweiler
and Gus,
rescues.
Gus was so gnarly. He was 2, and he was just beyond strong.
So I asked you this a little bit. I was implying that where I like to go is as we kind of go towards the last section is... If a future self has been pulling you this whole time, if there was a future self and you're kind of remembering your future as you go through life, these Rottweilers might have a future still. There's a purpose. It's not just rescue dogs. No, I'm starting to see images here that go along with your
fantastic.
Authentically human thing.
Okay. Grayson, when Grayson gave us his dog that he had gotten, it was a rescue dog, right? And it was, okay, so the neighbor...
Too much for Grayson. Too busy. Schedule.
Grayson was the worst dog owner ever. Christian was the worst parent. Grayson was the worst dog owner.
How dare you?
What? I'm being honest.
How dare you?
Why?
Anyway, these are your children. He's a great parent. He's doing the best he can. He's a great dog owner. He's an asshole,
and he was terrible. And Grayson was the worst dog owner. He'd go for 2 weeks, leave the dog and a thing of food, and have a drink out of the toilet. So anyway, so I took the dog. So Herbie and I took the dog. And we fell in love with this dog. And she was really a temple dog. I mean, that's all I can say. She was the Buddha. She'd lay on my bed. So the neighbors didn't like her because they thought she was a pit bull. So I had her DNA done, and she was Mastiff and Boxer.
Whoa,
and
big one.
And she just loved Herbie and I, and she was terrible with other dogs, but so we loved her. And one day she went out, and she just lay down and passed away.
Oh, no. Okay.
I found out she was 11. Do you understand? And she lived longer than she should have, according to the vet, because she was having her best life ever with Herbie and I.
Got it.
So we were so heartbroken. And so I couldn't stand it. And so I said, oh, Herbie, I think we should get another dog. So I found this dog, Zelda, and she was so sweet and lovely. I said, well, she's kind of lonely. So I got another dog from the same person, right? And this dog was fierce, right? Anyway, he's my dog, and he loves me, and it's a big job. And I think that in about 6 months, it should be a little bit more mellow.
Okay.
Okay. He takes training.
Yeah.
you know. And he's
Your training or outside help?
Oh no, I'm training him.
I was going to say outside help, right?
Oh,
You're like, oh no.
I'm training him. It'd be me and him. And so I take him out to the desert and there's lots of coyotes. Anyway, it's been a job, but in a way it's really a labor of love, you know, because it is. I think as I've gotten older, I understand how important it is to be able to touch someone and to say you love them and all this, and to be openly demonstrative as you are with your children.
Yeah.
Do you understand, right? So my children are grown and gone and Grayson's there, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important. I think it's important for Herbie. I think to say, oh, I love you, and to pinch something, it makes your cells sparkle. That's what keeps you young and vital. And
Makes
so
your cells sparkle.
Yeah. You know.
You
got to have sparkling cells.
Yeah. It's one of those keys to life is that connection.
Yeah. And so
you can't stay in the cave.
No. And so I think that with the dogs, that helps you to remember to say, I love you. Do you understand? To have that love go out that way.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I think being older and being alone more. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's not always great for you as far as your health.
My mom's been alone for 30 years, never remarried. And us being in the house, these six of us.
She's loved it.
Yeah.
She's.
I mean, you know, meaning it's a push and pull. It's a lot.
That's what I was saying. It'll stretch her, but she'll.
No,
she'll
and
love
it's
it,
important for her.
And the house, you know, being redone. We've second story.
Yeah,
we got an ocean view at Doheny now.
But
it's so beautiful.
but it's important for her.
No, I know.
I was thinking about.
It's going to add years.
Even for younger people, like during the pandemic, my son was in college and they just made them like just isolate. And he was like, I can't do this. He went and got a cat, something that he could connect with and
that's
love
what I'm
with.
saying, to be demonstrative with. It's important.
He needed that.
It's important to have that outward affection.
Yeah.
It makes you
It makes your cells sparkly.
Yes, it makes your cells
I think
sparkle.
let's wrap it up there. With we went from like at the end of the day, that's where we ended with sparkly.
But that
and
that's the point.
You're so woo woo.
But
You're so new agey with that stuff. What are you doing? Who did we invite here? Sparkle cells? How did you end up? I'm totally playing.
But I'm everything. That's the point. Do you understand?
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
I gotcha. I feel like
I think that's kind of a fun thing that people don't look at. They kind of like to pigeonhole people and say, "Oh, you're really like this," and you go, "No, I'm not." That's why, like when I do Instagram, I do everything.
Yeah,
I'm not like this. I'm interested in everything.
I know.
I'm interested. If you do something good, I'm interested. I think that's fascinating.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Right. And so I think anybody doing anything that their heart is in it and they do it to their best, I think that deserves to be highlighted and say, oh,
it's fun.
Attaboy.
It's
fun.
fun.
That's fantastic. I love that. Right.
It's unlimited. The possibilities are limitless.
You know, and I think that just like with children, when they say, you know, I'm bored, you go, oh, that's because you're boring. You know, and that's the point. They don't have enough interest.
There's a lack of curiosity.
See, me, I'm interested in everything.
I was always told boredom is an insult to God. And I liked that one.
To me, I'm interested in everything. So you can never learn enough in this lifetime. Do you understand? Just like you said, AI. Yeah. So what do you use? What system is it? Is it Chat GPT?
So it's the Chat GPT. It's really how you prompt it, how you engage with it. So like we have our Liquid Bliss, we have our whole philosophy behind it. So my AI is it's just entwined with all of that. So hey, what are some good questions? You want to hear some questions I had for you? I mean, like it just knows every aesthetic we had with Dibi, everything we've heard, we've talked about, and I share with it like a therapist.
I mean,
it gives it back to you.
Like human knowledge, like, and so you can just ask it whatever.
But it's only as good as your prompt, as your words. And Christian taught you the way you can tweak it. How about a little more this way, way, and then it becomes what it is. Otherwise,
but think about every problem we have.
It's a feedback loop.
We're going to use it badly, and think about everything good we aspire to. People will use it good in that same way. So it's just going to magnify everything. And
so now, what do you do? He said he's an actor.
I work as an actor, but also in the plant medicines and also building this consciousness, this movement we want to think.
And we're working on an AI tool that's basically going to help people tell their story in business, like you were talking about with the art, to be able to tell that higher purpose story, because so many people don't know how to do that. And AI is very good at helping you pull that out of you.
Articulate it.
Yeah, articulate it. It's once you articulate it and you make that little shift of, like you said, it was just a little shift of how you viewed that art. Once you make that, you're like, boom, light bulb goes on. And now you feel like you're doing something where you've got more energy for, more fulfillment out of. And so that's what we're creating with our AI. and to help.
It's storytelling. In other words, see, just like with Herbie's art, it's about the story.
But what makes it different is your personal way of prompting it, the way you can kind of tweak it to. I use it with music. It's all up to, you have to be really good.
And so is it going to be an app? I'm sorry, but
it'll be like basically for businesses to come in there, very small businesses or mid-sized businesses, they can use it to, here's what we're about. Help me find what my higher purpose is. Now help me tell that story to everyone in all these different platforms, like, media, blogs, emails, everything. And it'll help you do that. But, like that. But the key part is that it's getting you to go through this process of thinking. So you're
doing it.
Yeah.
That's the point, because you're the one feeding it. So it's and so you feel, I've got this help. So now
it's like your chief marketing officer.
Now I feel comfortable. Do you understand?
Instead of paying thousands of dollars to a marketing officer, it's your chief marketing officer. You're your own,
and it's helping you. It's asking you the right questions to help you, to pull that out of you, to make you more authentically human.
That's it. Authenticity.
It's using artificial intelligence to make you more authentically
that's
human.
it. That's it. That's where everybody gets lost.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Exactly.
I really think so.
I think so too.
I think they think that there's a better mousetrap. If I just word this kind of, and you go, no, you just got to be down into yourself enough to know who that is, to share that vision.
Yep.
And so it's going to be an app. That's interesting.
Yeah. We're getting ready to launch in next month, hopefully. So
so what you
he's
launch
been at it for about a year and a half.
We've been working on it for a year and a half.
And so you launch it like in the App Store? Is that?
It'll be basically on like computer. Like anyone could just log in from a browser and go in there and it'll ask you a bunch of questions.
And so then is it going to be membership, or how's the pay? How's the pay?
Tiered subscription.
See, I'm interested in business.
No, basically,
subscription.
A subscription payment.
Okay, got it. And so then it can go
to
the
top tier. You can actually have live people.
The top tier. You can tier up depending on like your needs.
And so you could tier up and actually have somebody like you be the mentor or something like that.
That's even at the higher tiers, like, hey, do you need actual help executing this? We can help you with that too. Just human to human.
It's cool.
Right. In other words, I'll be that for you. Yep. I'll be that. Yeah. That part of your experience.
Everyone can have that now. Instead of having to pay thousands of dollars to the marketing.
That's why I resonated so much with when you were talking about that story on the art, because I'm like, yes, exactly.
That's exactly how it was. See, Herbie doesn't see a story. Herbie's very interesting. I like working with him a lot. Herbie, he thinks in pictures, which I find fascinating. I think in words. So we're
very neurodiverse.
And so it's very interesting, and he thinks very abstractly. Mm-hmm. He can do math. He can do yields in his head. I can't do math with my shoes on because I need my toes to count with, right? But I can read great. He can't read well. And so it's very interesting.
Is he dyslexic?
Oh, yeah. Okay. And so when he does art, he does it. He just makes it. And I'm looking at it and I see this story, right? So I'm telling this story. So the two of us together, we can make this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. Herbie, just like he says, I couldn't make the art like I do if you weren't there. Do you understand? Well, I understand that. I would never have created that picture. But boy, when I see that, I know the story for it.
Yeah.
And so so I'm his AI, I guess. Right?
It'll be interesting. And now I know for sure you're going to delve into this. And download that app and check it out.
It's Chat GPT?
Yeah.
You can start there and just ask it anything, like whatever.
Start asking it whatever you want to ask it.
Well, because I've been relying on God to tell you the truth. See, I had all these characters, and
you know how God works through other people. Right. So we're telling. Here's God saying,
we can do these angel cards too.
We have to pick angel cards.
That's what I said. See, here's the thing. I was thinking, okay, well, I need to. I don't know what story I'm going to do.
Pick your card first. Just one.
Somebody DM'd and asked me something, and it started me on this whole thing. I said, "Oh, thank you, God. You do have a sense of humor."
All right, Stephen, you're up. You don't have to hide it. These are our words for we usually do it at the beginning of the show. Purpose. It tends to kind of purpose. No, come on.
Yeah, which is what we're
contentment. Debbie never.
I am.
She is.
Yeah, you are.
I to a certain degree.
Purification. What am I doing wrong?
But see, I am to a certain degree. Do you understand?
I think you're very content.
I'm content with who I am. Why not?
I know.
I ripped myself for 60 years getting here. I might as well enjoy it now.
Yeah. And then after the show, we'll spend like 10 minutes on, and we'll filter these words into like how the whole conversation went. I'm about all of it. Little psychedelics, little AI, little mystical. Let's do it all. Let's storytell. I'm a myth maker. Let's live life that way.
But see, pretty
fun.
But that's how I do live it. Do you understand? Yeah. It's not one dimensional.
No.
I pull it all in. Just like I said, I
it.
had all these stories and I said, okay, now what story do I really want to tell? Somebody direct messaged me that I'd never known, knew nothing about, and they asked me this question. I said, oh, thank you, God, you do have a sense of humor. I'm so grateful that you sent me that info.
If people would engage it that way, then it's how it should be.
It would flow. Things would flow a little bit better.
It does. It's fantastic because you go, you are there.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
So take that same energy into AI. Treat it like it's it's you. Sometimes I treat it like it's the future. Who knows what this thing is?
I used to do tarot cards and everything,
exactly.
And so it's the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
I used to do the I Ching. I had this girl she was the most beautiful girl in the surf world for years, right? She was fantastic, and she ended up doing hash runs to Afghanistan.
That sounds fun.
Where she had these giant tits, right? So she goes, I used to go to the checkpoint and put my tits on the thing. And she goes, they just let me go right through. Anyway, and she had all these girls that worked for her, and she was quite fat. She did 8 years in a Thai prison.
Oh, my God.
Oh, she had the wildest life. And so anyway, I interviewed her on camera for a couple hours. I own her life rights. She recently passed away. And she looks at Christian when she's there, and I'm interviewing her, and she looks at Christian, and she goes, if you want to have a good time, call me. And he looks at her and goes, I'd rather put my dick in a blender. But anyway, the point was, is she'd do these, she'd say, I'd be in Afghanistan, and the crop would be late, and they hadn't made the hash run, and I'd just do my I Ching to find out when it was auspicious for me to travel.
Auspicious.
Yes, and I loved it. And I just said, oh, way to go. And so there's all these things that I have used in the past.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Whether it's your crystal balls, whatever meditation that you're into, tarot cards and all of it, it's all the same.
Right.
You're just looking for that word or that little helping hand, right? That's there all the time, but you think, oh, I'll just get it through the cards. Because I'm not so good at listening.
Prompt you.
I'm not so good at listening. So maybe if it just shows me.
Really grateful for you to come in.
Thank you.
Today.
Yes.
Thank you.
My dear. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
We'll stay connected.
Okay. Sounds
Things
good.
of this nature.
I'm going to go do ChatGPT.
And
so it is an app. Then
yeah. So, ChatGPT this is AI CMO. What he's up to. His is different.
I understand that.
Right.
His is completely different.
Right.
His is directional.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Where are you going to show her
Star, trying to find North Star direction.
See, I'm good.
Yes.
I'm good. I give you the one word stuff.
Yes.
And I'm very good at that. I got the guy that was my concierge vet, he was writing a book. And so I got Gail to help him and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he tells me, well, Dibi, it's 1,500 pages. And I looked at him and said, dude, you need to edit, right? So he took it to Gail, and it's 500 and some pages. Yeah. And he goes, well, she told me that I need to get it to 200, right? Yeah. And I said, I guess you never heard Mark Twain's old saying, if I had had a longer time, I would have written you a shorter letter.
Yep.
Well, it's funny because the third person that connected us to Gail is Barry Sandrew. He works with my wife at Westcliff University, and he has that exact thing for editing books. His AI that he's created kind of edits that way. It's a sign. We're done.
Yep.
Who is it?
Spam.
Oh, it's spam.
I hate spam.
But at least we know it's spam at this point. All right, we're good. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Sorry for the little glitch in getting here. Now I got to go hook my phone up so my maps work.
Okay.
Well,
is it a new phone?
Yeah, brand new.
How come everything just didn't pop in?
I don't know.